From the All Indiana Podcast Network.
The All Indiana Podcast Network.
This is the News 8 Daily 8.
Now the latest news.
Kylie Conway has all the news you need to know.
And more.
Please stand by.
Now, here's Wish TV's Kylie Conway.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is the News 8 Daily 8 for Friday, June 19th. Today is Juneteenth, a traditional day of celebration, turned into one of protest today all across the country. The holiday has long commemorated the emancipation of enslaved African Americans. Now, it's burst into the national conversation as Americans hold sit-ins and peace walks against police brutality. Here in Indianapolis, first responders joined the movement, marching from Mass Ave to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park. It's been a day of conversation as local leaders reflect on how to fight for equality. People marched to the Kennedy King statue celebrating Juneteenth and the accomplishments made so far to bridge the gap between communities. Organizers celebrated as people from all walks of life showed up, including some minority first responders from both IMPD and IFD. People News 8 spoke with say that they support what they're seeing, and it means the Black community is truly being seen in Indy and across the nation. Even Mayor Joe Hogsett marched at the front of the crowd and highlighted the need for systematic change. Organizers say it's taken a long time for a lot of people to learn about Juneteenth, and there are still many people who don't know about the holiday. They were able to use today's march as a day of education as well. Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears spoke, encouraging the crowd to continue educating and protesting. He said the law will stand behind and protect their rights to do so. Indiana is now one of 47 states that observe Juneteenth as a state holiday. Governor Holcomb issued the proclamation today, calling today an opportunity to reflect, rejoice, and plan for a brighter future as we continue to address racial injustices in our society. Mayor Joe Hogsett did the same for Indianapolis. In a statement today, he said, "We need to recognize the need for continued systemic change, and together the people of Indianapolis will strive for a more just, equitable, equal, and inclusive future for all Hoosiers." And thousands of people in Atlanta are rallying for the end of racism. About 6,000 people took part in the One Race event inside Centennial Olympic Park. Similar demonstrations took place all across the country. It comes as the former Atlanta officer charged in Rayshard Brooks' killing waives his first court appearance. Garrett Rolfe was set to hear his charges today. Instead, his attorneys appeared before the judge. Rolfe is charged with felony murder and 10 other counts, accused of killing Brooks outside a Wendy's a week ago. He turned himself in yesterday afternoon, and he's now held without bond. Several other officers within the department called out sick today in protest of the charges. Louisville's mayor said today that one of 3 police officers involved in the fatal shooting of Breonna Taylor will be fired. Mayor Greg Fisher said interim Louisville Police Chief Robert Schroeder has started termination proceedings for Officer Brett Hinkison. 2 other officers are on administrative reassignment while the shooting is investigated. Fisher said officials could not answer questions about the firing because of state law. He referred all questions to the Jefferson County Attorney's Office. Taylor, who was Black, was gunned down by officers who burst into her Louisville home using a no-knock warrant. She was shot 8 times by officers conducting a narcotics investigation on March 13th. No drugs were found at her home. The NCAA on Friday expanded its policy banning states with prominent Confederate symbols from hosting its championship events, one day after the Southeastern Conference made a similar declaration aimed at the Mississippi state flag. The current NCAA ban, in place since 2001, prevents states from hosting what the NCAA calls predetermined championship sites, such as for men's basketball tournament games. Mississippi is the only state currently affected by the policy. Today, Marion County joins the rest of Indiana in entering the next stage of Governor Holcomb's plan to reopen. Movie theaters, bowling alleys, and other entertainment or cultural sites, including museums, can reopen at 50% capacity. Retail stores and malls may open at full capacity with social distancing in effect. Dining room service and indoor worship service may increase to 75% capacity. Bars and nightclubs may reopen at 50% capacity. Bar seating and restaurants may now reopen. Businesses and office buildings may resume at full capacity. Restrictions at government buildings will be determined by those government entities. Gyms and fitness centers may open at 100% capacity with social distancing. Daycare facilities, summer day camps, YMCA programs, and adult day service programs can all open with social distancing. Raceways may open with limited spectators. Amusement parks, water parks, and large event venues can now open at 50% capacity. People who visit the city-county building will be required to wear face coverings. Mayor Joe Hogsett says residents are strongly encouraged to wear face coverings and practice social distancing in their daily lives. And with the new stage, the Indianapolis Zoo is back open for visitors. Gates opened this morning. In order to gain entry, you must reserve a ticket ahead of time on the zoo's website. It will give you a specific date and time that you can enter the zoo. As you're waiting to go inside, there will be 6 feet space between groups. All staff are wearing masks, and guests are strongly encouraged to wear them as well. Drinking fountains and many of the food areas are shut down, so you're encouraged to bring your own water bottles and snacks. Zoo officials say more dates and times for ticket reservations will be open soon. And another thing to keep in mind, the zoo is operating on credit card only, so no cash will be exchanged. To the latest numbers now. State health officials confirmed 23 new Hoosier deaths today. To date, 2,327 people have died of COVID-19 in Indiana. Another 389 people have tested positive. The total number of cases in Indiana now stands at more than 41,700. The Philadelphia Phillies closed its spring training facility today. The team announced 5 players and 3 staff members tested positive for COVID-19 there in Clearwater, Florida. The names of the people affected haven't been released. The MLB canceled spring training games and suspended the 2020 regular season in March because of the pandemic. In a major reversal, the U.S. Navy has decided to fire the captain of the USS Theodore Roosevelt aircraft carrier who warned about the spread of the coronavirus pandemic aboard his ship. A decision that comes after the findings of a preliminary investigation recommended he be reinstated. That's according to a U.S. Navy official and a congressional aide familiar who was briefed on the investigation. The investigation concluded that Captain Brett Crozier made other poor decisions in response to the outbreak. The sources said that the Crozier has been relieved of command of the ship. He is expected to remain in the Navy. Additionally, the strike group commander, Rear Admiral Stuart Baker, will also be held accountable for poor decision-making, and his promotion is being put on hold. Both sources said this. The Navy has not yet made the findings of the report public. Crozier was initially fired in April for what the acting Navy Secretary Thomas Modly, who subsequently resigned, said was poor judgment for too widely disseminating a warning about the spread of virus aboard his vessel, a warning that eventually made its way into the press. President Donald Trump says he will renew his administration's effort to end legal protections for young immigrants after Supreme Court blocked the first try. As I mentioned on the podcast yesterday, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld legal protections for young immigrants, but its ruling doesn't provide a guarantee that they'll get to keep them long term. The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program allows hundreds of thousands of immigrants to live and work legally in the United States and shields them from deportation. A divided Congress is unlikely to pass legislation providing a path to citizenship anytime soon. But advocates vow to keep fighting for legislation for a long-term solution for 650,000 immigrants who were brought to the country as children. Stocks veered broadly lower on Wall Street in afternoon trading today, erasing the market's gains from an early rally. The selling came following word that Apple is going to temporarily close some of its U.S. stores again as new cases of coronavirus surge in Arizona, Florida, and other states. The news stoked worries that rising infection levels could imperil early improvements seen in the economy. The S&P 500 was down 0.2% after being up 1.3% earlier in the day. The index is still on track for its 4th weekly gain in the last 5 weeks. Bond yields were mixed. All right, this story is pretty cool. I remember reading this book. We're talking about an abandoned city bus. It was used as a shelter in the Alaska backcountry near Alaska's Denali National Park. It's been removed as a safety precaution. You might have heard about this bus before. It's the bus where Christopher McCandless died in 1992. The story of his life and death from starvation. It was made famous by the book and movie titled Into the Wild. It's a great book if you haven't read it. Since his death, the bus has become a tourist destination for those wanting to pay homage. But it's treacherous. 2 people have died in the last decade, and 15 other search and rescue operations had to be launched. The bus is now in a secure location until Alaska officials can decide what to do with it. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
Check out more podcasts from the All Indiana Podcast Network now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.
allindianapodcastnetwork.com.